Welcome to Stillwater Chronicles. Tonight we settle into a story about an inbox that would not go quiet. There is something about a screen in a dark room, the way it holds its light, the way it insists on brightness even when everything around it has agreed to be still. Most lights, lamps, candles, the faint amber of a street lamp through curtains, they suggest warmth. They invite the room in. But a screen does the opposite. A screen keeps everything out. It makes its own small world, and it asks you to live inside it. Michael had been living inside it for a long time now. His apartment was quiet in the particular way that Amsterdam goes quiet after midnight. Not silent, not quite, but slow, a canal somewhere below. The faint creak of the building settling, the soft percussion of rain that hadn't decided whether it was rain or just the idea of rain. He had lived here for 3 years and had stopped noticing these sounds the way you stop noticing your own breathing, until suddenly you notice it. And then you cannot stop. He sat at his desk by the window. The laptop was open. It was always open now. He told himself it was work. He told himself the blue light was bad for him, and he would close it soon. And he told himself a great many things in that apartment, in those late hours. The way a person will say things to themselves, not because they believe them, but because the alternative, the silence that fills the space where words should be, is worse. His mother's name was still in his contacts. He had not removed it. Annika van der Berg. The name sat there in his address book, like a bookmark, in a chapter he could not bring himself to finish. He had not changed her photo either. It was the one she had sent him years ago, taken at a market somewhere in the south. Her face tilted slightly toward the sun, her expression half amused, half somewhere else, the way she always looked when she thought no one was watching. She had died 14 months ago. A Tuesday. He remembered the light that morning, how unreasonably bright it was, how the sky seemed to have no opinion about what was happening on the ground beneath it. The first email had arrived 16 days after the funeral. Dear Michael, I hope you are sleeping. I hope you are eating something other than bread and coffee. You know what I always said about bread and coffee. He had stared at it for a very long time. His first thought was technical. Scheduled message. She had prepared it before. She was always organized, always thinking ahead, always 3 steps further into the future than anyone around her. It would have been exactly like her to write something in advance, to schedule comfort. He told himself this and believed it, almost entirely, and clicked away and poured himself a glass of water and did not think about it again for several hours. Then he went back and read it again. The second email arrived 10 days later. It was longer. It asked about his colleague, Roos, by name, and whether the disagreement at work had resolved itself. There had been a disagreement at work. It had happened 3 weeks after the funeral. Michael had not told his mother about it, because his mother had been dead by then. And you do not call the dead with your work troubles. He did not sleep well that night. The emails kept coming. Irregular, unpredictable, sometimes 2 in a week, sometimes a gap of nearly a month, long enough for him to begin to wonder if it was over, if whatever it was had simply stopped. And then his inbox would refresh, and there her name would be, sitting in bold text at the top of his unread messages. and the room would seem to get very still around him. He had tried to explain them away. He had tried all of the explanations, the technical ones, and the practical ones, and the ones that require you to believe in nothing beyond what can be measured and photographed and filed in a folder. He had called her email provider. He had asked a colleague who understood these things. He had sat for an entire evening trying to find the mechanism, the logic, the seam in the strange fabric of it. He hadn't found one because the emails were not automated. He knew this now, not as a feeling but as a fact settled in the center of him like a stone. They were responsive. They were present. They referenced his life as it was actually being lived. Not the life his mother had known, but the one he was living now, in her absence, in this apartment that felt slightly too large. On this side of the grief he had not yet crossed. She had mentioned the new plant on his windowsill. She had asked about the book he'd started and abandoned. Last month she had written, simply, "The yellow cup. You broke it. I know it was the one I gave you. Don't feel bad." He had broken the yellow cup the week before, alone in his kitchen, on a Wednesday morning when he was very tired and not paying attention. He had stood there with the pieces in his hand and cried for the first time since the funeral. And then he had swept it up and put it in the bin and not spoken of it to anyone. Not to anyone. Tonight there was a new one. He had been sitting at his desk for the better part of an hour, not quite working, not quite resting, when his inbox refreshed. He saw her name before he saw anything else. He always did. Something in him had learned to look for it. The way a formerly burned hand learns to notice heat from a distance. He sat for a moment without moving. Then he opened it. "Dear Michael, I need you to hear something. And I need you to let it sit with you, rather than argue with it. The way you always argue with things you are not ready for. You need to stop. The grief, the way you carry it, the way you sit with me still, the way you have not moved one single thing in that apartment, not even the coat I left on the hook by the door. It is making it harder for me to go. I don't say this to hurt you. I say it because you were always better at facts than at feelings. And so I will give you a fact. I am trying to leave. And every time you hold on, I have to come back a little further to reach you. And it is further than it should be. I am not asking you to forget me. I would never. I am asking you to let me be gone. The coat, Michael. Start with the coat." He read it 3 times. The room was very still around him. Rain against the window. The low hum of the canal. His own breathing, which he had started noticing again. The way you do when you have been reminded that you are alive, and that being alive requires maintenance. There was a coat on the hook by the door. He had not moved it. It had been there since the last time she had visited. 8 months before she died. She had left it hanging there by accident, and he had meant to post it back to her, and somehow never had. And then she was gone, and the coat was still there. And by then, it had become something different. Not a coat. Something he could not name without making it smaller than it was. He stood up from his desk slowly, the way you move when you are not sure whether your legs will behave. He crossed the room. The apartment was dark except for the laptop glow behind him, and he moved through it by memory. The exact geography of this place that had held him for 3 years, that had held his grief for 14 months, that had held her coat since a warm October afternoon when she was still entirely alive and very much herself. He stopped in front of the door. The coat was gray-green, the color of still water, the color of things that have been outside a long time. It hung exactly as she had left it, slightly skewed on the hook, one sleeve tucked behind the other. He could smell it, or he believed he could. Some combination of her and time and the particular chemistry of absence. He stood there for a long time. He thought about the emails. All of them. The whole year of them. The strange, impossible year of reading his dead mother's words in the blue light of a laptop screen, in an apartment she had never seen enough of. He thought about the yellow cup. He thought about the Tuesday morning with its unreasonable brightness. He thought about what it means to carry something so completely that the thing you are carrying cannot move, cannot dissolve, cannot do whatever it is that things are supposed to do when they are finished. He thought about what she had said. Let me be gone. His hand moved before his thoughts caught up with it. He lifted the coat from the hook. It was lighter than he expected. Of course it was. It was a coat, just a coat, just a piece of fabric shaped by a person who's no longer here to fill it. He held it in both arms for a moment. Not quite an embrace. Not quite not one. Then he folded it. Carefully. The way she had taught him to fold things. Edges aligned. No rushing. He set it on the chair by the door. He would figure out what to do with it in the morning. Some things need to be decided in the light. He went back to his desk. He sat down. The laptop screen was still bright in front of him. His mother's email still open. Her words still there in that particular font. That particular spacing. The particular way she had always written his name at the beginning of things. He read the last line again. The coat, Michael. Start with the coat. He thought about replying. He had never replied. In a year of emails, he had never typed a single word back. Some instinct in him. Some part that needed the experience to remain one-directional. As though a reply would confirm something he wasn't ready to confirm. But tonight his hands rested on the keyboard, and he thought about it. Really thought about it. For the first time. He thought about what he would say. Thank you felt too small, and also too large. I love you went without saying, and also could never go without saying. He thought about all of the ordinary things she would never see. The next autumn, the next winter, the next unreasonable Tuesday morning with its unreasonable sky. He thought about what it means to love someone so much that you hold them in place. And then slowly, he did something he had not done since the funeral. He closed the laptop. The room went dark. Properly dark, finally. The kind of dark that isn't absence but rest. The kind that asks you to put things down for a while. Outside, the rain had made up its mind and was falling softly and steadily on the water below. The canal received it without complaint. Michael sat in the dark for a long time. He did not know if the emails would stop now. He did not know if she had gone further. or if she was still somewhere just at the edge of where he could reach her, or if any of his explanations, the technical ones, the impossible ones, were true in any way that mattered. He did not know what she was now, what any of them become in the end. But he knew the coat was on the chair, and tomorrow he would figure out what to do with it. And that felt, for the first time in 14 months, like a beginning. Thank you for listening to Stillwater Chronicles, where even grief, in its darkest corners, can carry the shape of love. If this stillness stayed with you, if something in this room settled somewhere near, then let it remain a little while longer. Some messages, after all, were never about the words. They were about the listening. Rest now. You can close the screen.